to see this. It's
something that'll change the world and human life as we know it.
When Monty talks, it's painful.
Denied the freedom to enjoy even the most basic things.
The views expressed on the following broadcast do not necessarily reflect the opinions of KHLT Recovery Broadcasting or its affiliates. The dialogue on this show should not be considered as medical, psychiatric, or professional advice and is delivered only as personal opinions from the host, co-host, and guests. KHLT Recovery Broadcasting is not affiliated with any particular 12-step fellowship. And now, here are your co-hosts, Nathan A. and the Monty Man.
And it is a journey, absolutely. It's a process learning to be the light when we have spent so many of our years in so much darkness. Welcome to Open Forum here at Take12Radio.com on your internet dial. And, of course, if you're listening on the Bill Post Radio Network out of Kaiser, welcome to you as well. And Nathan Adams is, of course, here. Chipper,
one and only.
Chipper as usual, and we have Mitch Bourgeois is here with us.
Yay!
And it's been a while since he's been in the studio. And for those of you who don't know, for several years, Mitch was the I was really the co-host. He was the host of Forgiven that played.
It's good to be back.
Yeah,
good to be back.
Cool. Look
Good
at
to
you,
see you guys.
Sly dog, you looking over there.
Yeah, it's sweet to be back behind the microphone. Hello, everybody.
It's good. So we're going to be talking to Mitch. We're going to be sharing about the topic of resentment and resentments this week. Yeah. And this portion of the show is sponsored by Therapy Addiction Healing Center in Red Rock Country, Utah. Men and women and their families experience tremendous pain and suffering due to the struggles they face from substance abuse and its co-occurring mental health challenges. They need to find a safe place for peace and healing. Therapia Addiction Healing Center was born out of a deep desire to provide that safe and powerful healing environment. Therapia exists to help people recover from addiction by developing and maintaining healthy, meaningful relationships with God, self, and others. And you can visit their website at therapia.net, THERAPIA.net. And also our friends at Serenity Springs Recovery Center, which is a fully licensed all-male residential treatment facility in beautiful Edgewater, Florida. And I've been out there, and it is really awesome. They have a 1-to-2 ratio, so you don't get lost like in some of the bigger treatment centers. They're at SerenitySpringsRecovery.com. They're actually going to be sponsoring Take 12 Trivia this week. Isn't that fun, Nathan? Are you looking forward to Take 12 Trivia this week?
I imagine old Cecil's got a few things to say, and it's hopefully not directed towards me today.
It might be. We don't know. Mitch hasn't met Cecil yet.
I like her.
Cecil is new to the show as of about 6 months ago. Hey, and by the way, have you guys heard of crocodile? The drug crocodile?
Negative.
I hadn't heard about it until yesterday.
What is the crocodile?
About every month or so.
I can just hear the puns coming. It's gonna bite you.
It's reported to us through the Drug Associated Press, I suppose you could call it, of some new designer drug or some new something out there that people are using. Well, this is, again, a flesh-eating drug that turns people into zombie-like creatures. Seems to have made its way to the United States from the Ukraine. This extremely addictive injectable opioid is called crocodile, spelled Krokodil. It's so named in part because users report black and green scaly skin as a side effect. This last weekend, 5 people were hospitalized in Chicago and where symptoms similar to the scaling thing was going on. Healthcare providers also reported incidents in Arizona and Oklahoma. Crocodile victims claim we thought we were buying heroin. It's a zombie drug. It literally kills you from the inside out. If you want a way to die, this is the way to do it. Crocodile causes serious damage in the veins, and soft tissue infects rapidly through, followed by gangrene. The soft tissue damage happens around the injection site, and it spreads. Cocaine, meth, and most commonly heroin is being cut with the opiate.
What?
Here we go again.
Oh, my goodness.
Good stuff.
We had gravel last month, and then bath salts the month before that, and gee, willigers.
It's always some interesting new way to try to spin yourself.
Wow.
Gee, who tests these things out, in the beginning?
I mean, you got a mad scientist says, I'm going to make something right here that's different, that's going to destroy. I mean, what the heck?
Well, you guys probably covered here, I can't remember how many weeks ago it was, Time Magazine did a cover story on fake pot.
Oh, and
every time they ban something, well, the mad scientists kind of retweak the formula, so it's technically not illegal.
Right.
Yeah, they just change it just a little bit, so they kind of squirt outside the box on, okay, you can't.
The definition.
You can't do this one anymore.
But does it really matter anyway? Because every state is legalizing pot now anyway, right?
Okay.
It's coming to Oregon. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
Right. It's
And
coming.
I mean, all the Oregonians are going over to Washington. And the stores are closed.
They come here to
because
avoid the sales tax, and they go there to get the marijuana. All right.
Yeah, I just heard a thing on the radio. There's been a lot of coverage on that, and I guess one of the guys waited in line for like 19 hours, and he called his work, said, "Look, I ain't gonna make it in today." And then he was interviewed because he bought the first sack of weed or something, and so he got fired. Now they're gonna give him drug tests. So now, is it if you pee marijuana and if it's legal, is that gonna? So now,
Say, well, I can have a job over there because they changed the definition of peeing hot, and
yeah, and then I think later on that day they were talking about daycare.
Oh, yeah,
using medical marijuana. They were hitting the bong and then watching the kids, and some parents were cool with it.
Wow.
And they're talking about, it's in a complete different room, and sometimes we have headaches, and we go out there and choke on the bong, and we burp babies on our legs. We're good with it. And they were defending it,
Oh, man. It's in fact, I can feel a resentment building right now. Golly.
Oh,
it's crazy. It's crazy. What's going on around us is absolutely nuts.
Oh man. Yeah, the norm is changing, man.
Yeah,
morally.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and you say it all the time, Nathan. Bottom line, no morals.
Yeah,
no morals.
You can trace it all down to morals.
See, introducing yet another mind-altering substance in our bag of legal goodies for the purpose of having fun is irresponsible, ludicrous, and asinine, in my humble opinion, as a overly...
But the opinions expressed by the host of this show...
Opinionated, that's right.
Yeah.
They rock because they're right.
All right, so much for the update on the new drug Crocodile. Listen to our sponsor for this part of the show, and then we're going to come back with Cecil. Cecil's going to be sharing some Take 12 trivia goodies with us. Don't go away. Hey there, this is the Monty Man from Take 12 Recovery Radio. Many of us have attended all sorts of addiction symposiums and treatment conventions, and so much of the time we walk away from these events feeling like we've been preaching to the choir just one more time. May I suggest a different kind of substance abuse and addiction treatment event? The Evolution of Addiction Treatment Conference, February 5th through the 8th, 2015, at the Westin Los Angeles Airport Hotel and Convention Center. The current field of substance abuse and addiction treatment has been evolving for almost 8 decades now, and during this time we have seen many important developments as well as many failed experiments. It seems time to step back and conduct a professional inventory of where we have been, where we are now, and where we are heading. Well, this conference will provide a forum that encourages professional dialogues of controversial issues, showcases innovative and creative treatment approaches, and offers an overview of the field and its future. For more information, visit www.theevolutionofaddictiontreatment.com. Join me and many of my guests as we attend the Evolution of Addiction Treatment Conference February 5th through the 8th at the Westin Los Angeles Airport Hotel and Convention Center, 2015.
He's a little crazy, but then again, you already knew that.
I got in like 3 fights when I was in grade school. All 3 of them were with the bully. You know, we all know who they are. They're always a little bit bigger, they kind of smelly, and we duke it out. And after he beat the snot out of me, I'd say, "You come back tomorrow and I'll give you more of that."
It's the Bill Post Radio Show. Bill Post Radio Show. Weekdays at noon.
All right, and please check that out, BillPost.com. You can listen to our show from 11 to noon live, Monday through Friday at BillPost.com. And now also on TuneIn Radio on your app on your smartphone under the Bill Post Radio Network. All right. Let's see. Let's see if we can wake Cecil up. Cecil, are you awake?
Well, if it isn't that guitar-building, dental technician, retired pastor dude from Lebanon, Oregon, Mr. Mitch Bourgeois.
Oh, so you know Mitch.
Are you kidding, Monty Man? Even the rocks will cry out that they know old Mitch Bourgeois.
Okay. So, Cecil, fill Mitch on this week's trivia.
Well, I surely will, Monty Man. But first, I just wanted to say how much I appreciate the Jolly Green Giant for rescheduling his dental appointment. You know, Nathan, you have a beautiful smile.
Well, thank you, Cecil.
Well, you're entirely welcome, you big lug.
I think she's got a crush on me.
She does. Okay, Cecil, fill Mitch in on this week's trivia.
Okay,
I can't
Mitch. Every week we play Take 12 Trivia. And this week, we're going to see how well you guys think you know the Monty Man. So, are you scallywags ready to play?
Bring it on.
You ready? Okay, good.
I got to say one thing.
Good, because it's time to play Take 12 Trivia.
Okay, Nathan, what you want to say, buddy?
One of my goals in life is to be the king at this. I challenge, and I'm a competitive guy. Eve used to smash me there for a while at this game, and Mitch, I got to let you know, you ain't got a prayer,
He
buddy.
complains because when we do music trivia, we go back to what he says are oldies.
Okay, so in like the 80s or the 90s, right? There wasn't any music in the 80s or the 90s.
I knew he was going to say that. He hates the 80s.
80s was a very, very bad era for fashion, for music. I look at those guys, whip it good. You know, that guy's stuff, you're like, whoa.
Oh, my gosh.
That was a pretty funky area.
Okay, here we go. We got to run through this fast. Okay, what area in the United States am I originally from? Upstate New York, the San Francisco Bay Area, or South Texas? Who wants to try it first?
San Francisco Bay Area.
Yep.
You guys are correct.
Petaluma.
Yeah, you're going to hear weird noises. Petaluma, that's right. Out of the 3 mind-altering substances, which one was the catalyst that put me in prison? Was it alcohol, methamphetamine, or cocaine?
Methamphetamine.
It's Coke.
It was methamphetamine. Yes.
Right.
Okay. What state was I thrown out of and asked never to return by law enforcement?
Which one?
Consciousness?
Yeah,
I think it was the state of consciousness.
Was it Arizona, Iowa, or Nevada?
Nevada.
Iowa.
You're right. It was a good. Was that a lucky guess?
He's just guessing
was
too.
I'm all over it, buddy.
You're on. Yeah, that's right. Okay, which one of the following cities was not on my list of using and drinking locations? Houston, Texas, Barstow, California, or Branson, Missouri? Was not on my list.
Barstow, California.
No, I'm going to take Branson.
Mitch is correct. I never did make it to Branson. Yeah. Okay. How much time did I spend in the Oregon prison population? Was it 3 months, 6 months, or 1 year?
Ooh.
I'm going to go with a year.
I'm going to go with 6 months.
Nathan is correct. It was 6. It was 6 months. Okay. Reflecting on my story, where did I wake up out of a drug-induced blackout after leaving California? Was it Eugene, Oregon, Albany, Oregon, or Portland, Oregon?
Portland.
You guys all heard this.
No, that was another time.
Yeah, which one?
That was number 42.
Yeah. I know some of the subsequent ones. I can't remember the earliest ones. I'm going to have to say Portland.
Okay, well, you're both incorrect. It was actually Albany, Oregon, right up at when the bridges were green up there, right there at the rest stop. See what we got. There you go. Okay, what profession was I in at the height of my active addiction? Was it taxi driver, ministry, or hotel management?
Ministry.
You guys are wrong. It was hotel management, actually.
Really?
Yep, I was corporate catering director for Holiday Inn out of Dallas. Yes.
Well, that is a fact about the money man that is useless, but I wish I knew.
I don't know that we're doing very good. I don't think my percentage is very high.
Okay. Well, actually, you guys aren't doing too bad. Who told me that if I wanted to be so opinionated on issues of recovery, I had to start my own talk show and shut up in the meetings? Here are your choices. A male member of Narcotics Anonymous, a female member of Alcoholics Anonymous, or my sponsor?
Your sponsor.
A male member of Narcotics Anonymous.
You are absolutely correct.
That might even have been... I might even know that answer.
Yeah, you might.
His first name is the name of a city in Texas.
Got it.
You got it? Okay.
Got it.
Okay. That's right. Okay. How much did the first microphone cost that Take 12 Radio ever use?
Oh, dang. I remember. I should know this one.
Okay. $25, $100, or $1.75.
There you go. $175.
I'm going to go with 175 too.
You're just copying him, aren't you? Yeah. Absolutely correct. It was $1.75. Got it at the Goodwill store.
Yep.
Okay. Let's see what we got. Oh, yeah. Okay, good. From what location was the first Take 12 recovery radio show first broadcast? Was it from an established radio station, from a garage, or from a kitchen table?
Kitchen table.
That's a tough one because I was around in that.
Mm-hmm.
I remember his little 8-track computer setup. I'm going to say kitchen table.
Well, it was from the garage.
That's what I wanted to say.
That's right. Okay. What gender was Take 12 Radio's first guest? Male, female, or did I have both male and female on?
Your first guest. That I know I don't know.
You may not know.
I'm going to have to go with... I should know, huh?
Yeah.
I'm going to have to go with male.
Nathan, you're correct. It was Juan O. Juan O was the first guest. There we go again.
That
okay.
would be 10. 1-0 is 10.
One... Brother. How many computers does it take to operate Take 12 Recovery Radio? Here are your choices. 2, 4, or 5?
I say 4.
I say 3, but I bet there's a mysterious laptop rocking this thing for being on the road, so I'm going to say 4.
Well, you're both wrong. It's 5. Actually 5, but it really good guesses. There's the audio booth. There's the one for all the graphics. There is the office computer. There is the mobile for the laptop for the mobile shows, and there is the one we do all the music on the other side of that one. Yeah.
And then there's the computer boneyard where he pulls parts from.
That's right, and I do have several of those. Okay, here's your bonus question, and this one may be a little tough. How many people currently make up the Take 12 Radio Board of Directors? 5, 7, or 9?
7.
I'll go with 7, too.
You sure? Final answer?
Yep.
It is actually 9.
Ooh.
9 members of the Board of Directors. Yes, indeedy. Well, that does it for this week. The most hated game on the internet.
You know what?
Yes.
I just thought of a brilliant question you should have thrown out there.
What?
How many personalities does it take to run Take 12 Radio? And I would go about 75, all by one man.
That's right.
That would have been the ultimate trick question.
Schizophrenia. Okay, multiple personality syndrome. It's time of this month, by the way.
And now it's time to announce the winner of this month's cartoon caption contest.
And the winner is... the winner for this month's cartoon caption contest is Donna Gray Albrechtson, and she is from Santa Rosa, California. Actually, I went to school with her. And this is the cartoon. It has a guy. It's got a guy standing on the beach. It looks like maybe a deserted island, and there are like champagne glasses and bottles of booze. And her caption that she entered said, "Sheldon considered his new hell, surrounded by bottles and water and not a drop worth drinking." And that is the cartoon. So you guys out there listening can look it up online. Go to take12radio.com and click on Recovery Cartoons. And you will find a caption. A cartoon that has no caption. Your job is to decide what that caption should be, enter it in the contest, and you could win, of course, what Donna has won, and that is the live DVD by Mark Lundholm, Addiction, A Comedy of Substance, and the bonus CD, How Is That Funny? Yes, indeedy. All right, when we come back, we are going to be tackling the topic of resentments. What the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous says is the number one offender. Don't go away. When it comes to drug and alcohol treatment, all of us here at Take 12 Radio understand how overwhelming it is to find the right facility for you and your loved one. The internet alone is flooded with drug and alcohol treatment centers claiming to be the one that can help achieve a life of abundance free from addiction. How can one possibly know which one to choose? Well, when you call Broad Highway Recovery for a drug and alcohol treatment referral, you will immediately know that the person who answers the phone is very passionate about making sure they recommend the best facility for the individual that's in need. They will narrow your search down to 3 drug rehab facilities based on the information that you provide. Each call is confidential, and each caller will be treated with the utmost respect and compassion. Look you don't have to go through this alone. The folks at Broad Highway are interventionists that are 100% committed to helping your family. If you are willing to go to any length for your loved one, then they can help you begin the recovery process. Please call them today and take the first step towards a new and bright future on the broad highway of recovery from alcohol and drug addiction. Their toll-free number is 877-487-1599. That's 877-487-1599. Visit their website at broadhighwayrecovery.com.
Origins Recovery Centers provides integrated inpatient treatment for substance abuse and co-occurring disorders. At Origins, clients receive expert medical, clinical, and spiritual care individually designed for their needs. Our clients leave Origins with the foundation upon which they will build the rest of their lives. Call now to speak with an admissions specialist. Our toll-free number is 888-843-8935. That's 888-843-8935. Origins, delivering real solutions for real families.
All right, welcome back. And to cover our recovery poll for this last month, by the way, on our website and on Facebook, the question was, do meetings keep you sober? And I said, it's a simple yes or no question. I should have said it's not an essay.
I imagine.
How many people can just say yes or no? But that's just kind of who we are. And just so let you know, the majority of the answers were no. Because it was, do meetings keep you sober? I didn't say meetings and God and the steps. I just said meetings. But
it's a trick question.
It's a trick question. But the majority of the answers were no, absolutely not. No, God does, and love of life and friends like you. Thank you, Tim. That was Tim Wascom. Meetings are support to program of action. Meetings are to gain perspective, education, and mechanical application of the program, but they don't keep you sober. And majority of the answers were no, not by themselves. Is basically what it is. And in Mitch Bourgeois, there's a little soundbite on our music sets that pops up every once in a while, and he says, if your God is the 12 steps, I want to challenge you on that. At some point, it's got to go a little deeper than that. Right? You remember saying that?
Yep.
You bet. There's no power in the steps, you guys. There's none. They are there to show us our need for a power. And we got to stop being meeting dependent, step dependent, church dependent.
It goes on and on and on. There's so many things that we will put in the way that are
good things.
That are good. Yeah, they're fine in and of themselves. But if you don't take it a little further, a little deeper.
Right. Okay, so the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous, by the way, makes a statement in step 4 that says resentment is the number one offender. It destroys more alcoholics than anything else. And you can put in there, it destroys more people. Mm-hmm. I mean, the bottom line, resentments, they fester, they brew, and the body doesn't know the difference between good stress and bad stress. It just recognizes stress. Mm-hmm. And, of course, resentment is a big stressor. It says, from all of its stem, all forms of spiritual disease. And by the way, in case anybody out there is wondering, alcoholism is referred to as the disease only one time in the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous, just once, and it refers to it as a spiritual disease. In all the other areas, it refers to it as an illness. It says, we have not only are mentally and physically ill, we have become spiritually sick as well. When the spiritual malady is overcome, we straighten out mentally and physically. Seek ye first the kingdom of God, and then all these things will be added unto you. In dealing with resentments, we set them on paper. We listed people, institutions, or principles from who we were angry. And we're going to cover that next week. We're going to do this in 2 parts, folks. And we're going to talk about a really simple way to deal with resentments, a little exercise that you guys can do. And we're going to have a PDF of that up so you can download it and follow along with us. Okay, so resentments is a big deal. It's a big deal. And I don't care how long you've been clean and sober from whatever, whether it's overspending, gossip, eating, booze, whatever it is. Recovery isn't about restoring you to sobriety. It's about restoring you to sanity. And because there's a lot of people that are sober but are miserable. And they're walking around in resentment all the time. And let me tell you something. If you're getting angry right now by what I'm saying, you probably get angry all day long anyway. You probably do.
Yeah, it's true.
Somebody's going, I'm really. Oh, well, maybe. You may love it. Okay, so we've all had resentments, right? I don't think there's any of us that haven't experienced that. What do we do with it? There's some instructions and some guidelines on how to do that, but more importantly, when we know what to do with it, do we do that? Mm-hmm. Or is it more comfortable to sit in our poop, as Nathan might say, right? So let's just kind of venture forth on this thing. Mitch, you're our guest this week. You want to throw some stuff out there?
Yeah, what was kind of interesting about this was when Monty called me about filling in and taking a seat in this one. It was kind of I started laughing. I said, "Dude, I got to read something to you," because I had sat down and all right. Yesterday marked 6 months for me. Some of you don't know that I have pastored 11 and Foursquare Church. I've been involved in the leadership ministry of that church for 25 plus years,
right.
And I was the senior pastor there for 16 of those 25 years. And just at the beginning of 2014 in January, I had stepped down as the senior pastor. Just felt like God opened up a different door. It was kind of leading me in a different direction. And, so transition and all that kind of stuff, and just felt like, okay, that season of my life in this particular form is over. But so yesterday, or this last Sunday, marked the 6 months out since we prayed in, because we were there for the service praying in the new pastor and his wife. And so 6 months. And it's taken me about 6 months to realize that I'm packing around some baggage. And I was laughing. I was just like, okay, this is almost like ministry post-traumatic stress or something. And folks, I got to tell you, as of the buddies that I've known who've been in the ministry, pastors, I've had it really good. I've had it really, really good. Mm-hmm. I've known so many guys who have been their things that they have had to deal with have been horrendous.
Right.
I didn't have to deal with nearly as much as a lot of these guys, but I got out of this and I realized 6 months into this, new season, I've been packing around some baggage. And I had just sat down before Monty called and started journaling on kind of what I'm feeling, what I'm going through. And I realized that I didn't use the word resentment, but I realized that it's taken me 6 months to be able to decompress enough to realize that I'm pissed off.
Right.
I'm pissed off about some stuff. And for 25 years, for 16 years, Monty remembered this. He brought this up, and I wanted it. That kind of a rule that I always functioned by was that I'm the only guy in church who's not allowed to get angry. And what I mean by that is that anybody else in the church was allowed to get angry, throw a fit, throw a tantrum, grab their keys, throw them on the ground, stomp out of the room.
That would be me. That would be me.
Be mad, get upset, all that stuff. But they would, those people, when that would happen, they would do some damage. Others would get hurt, but nobody in the church would cause as much damage by losing it as me. Because nobody in the church had as much authority as me.
And all eyes are on you.
And for me to throw a raging fit would cause all kinds of collateral damage. Somebody else, to varying degrees, depending on how much authority they had, depending on what their influence was, depending on how they were viewed in the fellowship, would cause more or less damage, but nobody would cause as much as me. And so I've lived under that, and whatever else might have happened, and however else anybody may have acted, I was not able to act in kind because I was the one. I had to be the steady. I had to hold it together. I had to be the one who and realizing, dang, 6 months into my sabbatical year, with Karen and I, my wife and I, are not doing any leadership ministry right now. We've just taken a year to just kind of figure out, Lord, what's next.
Right.
And I'm realizing I got some stuff. I got some baggage I need to deal with.
And I'm suspecting that it's not just everything that went on towards the last 6 to 8 months of your active pastorship. But
it's
all
gone
those
on for
years, all those years,
it's gone on for years.
People coming to you and this and that, and
finding myself in between factions and fights, and this group and that group, and the music's too loud, the music's not loud enough, and
too fast,
these
too
people
slow.
Are doing this, and these people are doing that, and marriages, family situations, kids rebelling, spouses that are cheating. It goes on and on and on. There's just this endless supply.
And you got to keep it together because you're the go-to guy.
Yeah, because I'm the go-to guy.
Yeah.
And now I'm not the go-to guy for nothing.
And see, this is also common. And when I talk to treatment professionals, I always ask them, what is it that you do for you when you're just ready to, go out and, shoot a bunch of people? I mean, not literally, but what do you do? And they have some very, very strict. Some of them have to go to meetings or have accountability and so forth that are out of town.
Sure.
Far away.
Where does the counselor go for counseling?
Where does the counselor go? Yeah.
Well, and I don't know, you guys probably thought of this too, but right here in this room, I mean, our listeners wouldn't understand this, but all three of us in our history with each other have things that have come up between us that are exactly on this topic, that could be those things that could fester, that for a time even divided us.
Sure.
But here we are all back together, and I thought this is the greatest thing in the world.
Yeah.
This is just the coolest, because we've watched God do something through the years that we've had our issues, but we've been able to come back as brothers, and it's amazing.
Amen.
Yeah, it is. Of course, Nathan is the biggest butt of all.
I ain't gonna argue that
one. I only say that because I don't want to admit that I am the biggest butt of all,
and I'm resentful for that.
Yeah. Well, and that is that.
So when you gave me the topic yesterday, it's like, dude, I would love to go on, because and my wife and I were talking about it last night. I said, I don't have any answers for it yet. I'm just recognizing that I'm in the middle of my stuff.
Right.
I'm in the middle of my stuff. I'll deal with it.
And the healing begins when you do realize that something's going on, right? Just like we talk about having to admit you're powerless over whatever it is that's wagging you before you can get any help. Is it okay to get pissed off, Nathan? But we're kind of brought up in this thing, especially as people of faith, that, that's not okay. It's not okay to feel that way, because you need to have it all together, even behind closed doors.
It's an emotion, and it's really tough to, you shouldn't feel that way. Well, I don't know what to tell you about that, because I feel this way. Now, I can act upon my feelings, and that may or may not be appropriate. Acting upon something, I think, is different than, it's like Jesus said, your thoughts, even, it starts with your thoughts, and you got to watch where your thoughts go, because it's the same as, my battles are won or lost up here first, between my ears. And I got to say, if I look at a woman, then I have a choice in my thoughts what to do with that. I can either choose an appropriate way or an inappropriate way, and then those thoughts lead to something that's either going to be life-giving and positive in my relationships, or something that's going to undermine and destroy.
Yeah.
And when I'm dealing with issues in myself as it relates to other people, then that's just the baggage, and I'm bringing it to you. What I do with it is going to be where I hang myself, or actually get free from this knot.
There's a slogan within recovery circles that says holding on to resentment is like drinking poison and waiting for the other guy to die.
Yeah.
That's true, isn't it, Nathan?
It's like pissing your pants. It's mainly uncomfortable for you. You know what I'm saying?
I love him.
It is.
It's true. It is. So, what about you, Nate? I mean,
oh man, that's something I struggle with all the time. I without. By the way, Mitch, you can come and scream and cuss and swear. I won't judge you, buddy. Yeah, man. I that's a big one for me. I still to this day I find myself in what I feel, because some of that stuff is kind of see, here's the problem with me. If I have a resentment and I just call it a resentment, and I'm all right, I'm mad at this, or this hurt me, and it's a resentment. I take the power out of it when I grab that resentment, I dissect it, and if it's going back to a fear, if it's going into one of my God-given instincts being threatened, there's a reason why I had that. And so for me, one of the biggest powerful things and I've shared this story online about that old turd bag came up to me one day and wrote ABC on my hand. I went, what the heck? And permanent marker in a meeting. I went, what the heck? And a week later, I cornered the dude and he said, I'm going to give you a little treat here, buddy, or a little nugget in life. And he says, A is admit, B is backtrack, and C is to make a conclusion. And so what that tells me, if I'm resentful, and what it does, because right now resentful is a blaming you, me. I'm just, yeah, And when I admit, okay, I'm resentful, I backtrack, and 90% of the time, maybe more, I can trace it to some kind of fear, a fear of one of my instincts getting threatened or something. Basically, most of the time, if I trace it hard enough, it comes back to something having to do with me that gave it the power in the first place. And then I make a conclusion, which, in short, I was born in this world a scared little boy, and I grew up to be a scared little boy. And what that does for me is that takes out a lot of the power of that you, me, and mad, angry, and it brings it into perspective, because most of the time I have a part in it if I look into it, and it's some kind of defect that I need to be aware of in me, or some link inside my guts and soul. So if I just leave it as resentment, I'm never going to heal from that, really, unless God just relieves it, which sometimes he does. But I have to understand it, figure it out, and then it just kind of kills it, the power, and then I have the ability to pray and let it go. So that's like the powerful thing for me.
Yeah. In the and this is more attributed to the harm, what's called the harm inventory of the inventory process in the Big Book. This is the original manuscript calls it a harm inventory. It was reworded as the sex inventory, but it can be applied in any resentment situation. We reviewed our own conduct over the years past. Where had we been? And this is so key. Here they are. Where had we been selfish, dishonest, inconsiderate? Whom had we hurt? Did we unjustifiably arouse jealousy, suspicion, or bitterness? Where were we at fault? And should have done, and what should we have done instead? We got this all down on paper and looked at it. That's a hard thing to do.
Courage.
It used to it was like nails on a chalkboard when my sponsor would say, I'd go to him, I'd say, man, so-and-so did such and such. He'd say, all right, let's look at your part. I'm like, I didn't play a part, dude. I didn't do anything.
That's right.
This guy just came up to me and
said this and said that, right?
He said, well, you played a part even if it was just that you were there.
Yeah.
But you've got to find, even if it isn't something you did wrong, you've got to find your part in it. Mm-hmm. There is a part that you're playing in it.
Right.
And then usually that reveals more stuff, And one of the things that is spoken of a lot in recovery circles is that if something disturbs us, and man, I used to fight this. If something disturbs us, it usually means there's something wrong going on inside of us. Man. Now, we're not talking about if starvation of third world countries disturbs you, or a little kid being abused disturbs you. We get that. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the resentment thing. We're talking about,
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Some of the things that make me angry about my wife, dude, I'm the worst offender. I'm like looking in the mirror. I'm like, that drives me nuts. And if I slow down, I go, dude, I'm the worst at that. It's funny.
Yep.
It's funny how that works.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's funny or not. I don't know.
Here's an interesting statement. It is plain that a life which includes deep resentment leads only to fertility and unhappiness. To the precise extent that we permit these, do we squander the hours that might have been worthwhile. But with the alcoholic, and again, with the human being.
Yeah, with the human being.
The human condition, whose hope is the maintenance and growth of a spiritual experience. Maintenance and growth. Mm-hmm. This business of resentment is infinitely grave. We found that it is fatal. For when harboring such feelings, we shut ourselves off from the sunlight of the Spirit. The insanity of alcoholism, addiction, self-righteousness, meaning that you're declaring yourself righteous without God. That insanity returns, and we go back to our old behaviors. And with us, to do that is to die. If we were to live, we had to be free of anger. The grouch and the brainstorm were not for us. They may be the dubious luxury of normal men, but for those of us struggling with, and I'll just say sin, these things are poison. And then it talks about turning back to our list of the people that we were upset with. We're going to talk about that next week. A really, really cool tool that I found that helps with dealing with people that just rub us the wrong way, or maybe an incident that really hurt, And you're right, Mitch. It is a beautiful thing. I mean, Nathan and I were at odds at one time. You and I were at odds at one time. But isn't it interesting, that Michael W. Smith song, Friends? Friends are friends forever if the Lord's the Lord of them. It's conditional. If the Lord, the God who is God, is truly your Lord, not just your Savior, but your Lord, it all comes out in the wash, and you're still buddies.
Yeah.
And resentment was the reason there was anything between us.
Yeah.
And
right.
And sometimes sometimes it lasted for years.
Yeah, dumb. Dumb.
But what's funny about that too, just kind of with our history, is that God just had kind of a way of working us all back around and bumping into each other again in the funniest places.
Right.
It's like, you know what? This is so great. This is so great. And then, all right, here we're back.
Yeah.
And kind of, for me, one of the things, or one of the pictures that I thought is that, okay, right or wrong. I mean, you can look at this and say, okay, Mitch, you got some issues here. This, and I recognize that in my own character, I have what I call a hero complex. I titled it that years ago.
You know better than that. I'm the Monty Man.
Yeah. I got this hero complex, and what this is it's rescuing people, being the steady for helping folks, always being there, really trying to help other people out.
Right.
That's all fine, except that it can be just as sick as the person who needs the help.
You fall into the codependent
absolutely
thing. Yeah.
And that I realized a lot of pastors, a lot of spiritual leaders fall into this. They need to be needed. And so, doing this thing for the good of people scratches an itch. And you can do that for a very long time, and maybe it's good, maybe it's right, maybe you're staying pretty healthy. But for me, I realized, okay, I'm in
your
this
identity.
I'm in this season of rest now, where I get to take off the armor, so to speak. I'm not on duty all the time, and I realized, dang, I have just been rubbed raw by this stuff. All of a sudden, I am more aware. I've been able to slow down long enough to say, man, I got some wounds. I got some stuff that I need to deal with. And over the last couple of months, this has come up a few times. It's like, all right, I need to deal with this, because if I don't address this, it's going to turn into bitterness. This thing, this wound, this sense of having to be on duty all the time and be this with everybody else around me. If I don't deal with this, it's going to turn into bitterness, and bitterness is going to it's going to be the zombie drug that kills me from the inside out.
Yeah, you bet. Wow. Yeah. Yeah.
The resentment.
Do you see now? I think about the power. Now I'm going to use us for an example, because I know. Here's an example. I don't even remember what I was resentful about you for.
Yeah,
I don't inside, I'm like, I don't even remember. And I remember Mitch's, and I think about it. He did exactly what he needed to do, and I was a little squirrely. Let's admit that.
You were a little squirrely.
I was a little loud and rough, right? And I was sitting there in my
You were
live.
rough, raw, and naked, bro. That's the term you
raw,
used to
rough,
use.
and naked.
Yeah.
I was kissing I was kissing on my wife, and
they weren't married at the time. They weren't married at the time.
We were not married, but what I was doing in my ear was, it's going to be. We had some stuff going on. It's going to be okay. We're gonna, and Mitch seen me kissing on a girl's ear that I wasn't married to in church. So during his sermon, he stopped and he went, and he shook his head, which, dude, that's my buddy. I love Mitch,
right?
And that's cool. But for some reason, I went, you know what? That's self-judging, and I did this thing in my head, and then I just threw it in my belly's resentment.
You
and
ran.
I didn't analyze it, even though, now I analyze it. Oh my goodness, Mitch just kind of had my back and was trying to call me on a few things, and I looked to him anyway. So I look at it, but I held on to that. I absolutely held on to that and left the dang church. And I turned it into those judgmental, and you see it, and it's just a stupid resentment that I gave that power that destroyed a relationship that I love you with all my sticking guts.
Didn't destroy it.
But,
But it's
stupid.
Like ping pong balls, man. We went bouncing off into a lot of different directions for a long time.
Absolutely stupid, So that's the power of something so simple and stupid,
And his wife is amazing, and they got married. And it's all cool.
But I look at that and man, thank goodness for grace and forgiveness. And
and I'll tell you something. There have been people that we've all known that we swore we knew what was best for them. And I'm not even saying even in our own flesh. I mean, we were absolutely certain that the Spirit of God was very clear to us.
Yeah.
We were so certain that we got in their face and we said, this is wrong. And you know what I'm discovering? God is up to something many times.
Oh, man.
And what even appears to be sin sometimes to us, God is doing something that needs to happen for the outcome to glorify Him. God is stuck on God. Sorry.
Yeah.
But
He don't make it for us.
No.
And you have somebody very close to you that's going through some stuff that you got to tell you. You got to know that.
I got to say, all right, I see you going down this road. There's a dragon down there. You're going to get bit really hard. But God knows what that wound is going to do, what it's going to cause, where it's going to bring up. I don't know that. I just see disaster. You know,
probably going to be. But
and there could be a train wreck.
There could be a train wreck.
But what God does, even in our mistakes, even in our own foolishness, our own silliness, and just sometimes downright stupidity.
Yeah.
Boy, His patience.
It's amazing, and it's so good.
His patience and His love that never fades when I'm an arrogant pig. I just look at that.
Right on,
and
baby.
There you go.
Right on.
Okay, we're out of time, so I'm gonna read this last piece here. And then next week Mitch is gonna come back, and we're gonna talk about what do you do? How can you approach the situation when you have a resentment towards a person, an institution, or a principle?
I'm just gonna bring a big stick.
What can you do? What's a real simple tool? Because for most of us, the simpler the better. That we can do to help us walk through this stuff. But listen to this, and many of you are familiar with this, and some of you have never heard it. When I am disturbed, this comes from in the 3rd edition of the Big Book from 449. When I am disturbed, it is because I find some person, place, thing, or situation, some fact of my life unacceptable to me. And I can find no serenity until I accept that person, place, thing, or situation as being exactly the way it is supposed to be at this moment. Nothing, absolutely nothing happens in God's world by mistake. Till I could accept my alcoholism, and in this case we could say my resentment, my anger, my what's going on in me. I could not stay sober. And we're talking about here, particularly, emotional sobriety. Unless I accept life completely on God's terms, I cannot be happy. I need to concentrate not so much on what needs to be changed in the world as on what needs to be changed in me and in my attitude. Shakespeare said, all the world's a stage, all the men and women merely players. He forgot to mention that I was the chief critic. I was always able to see the flaw in every person, every situation, and I was always glad to point it out. because I knew you wanted perfection just as I did. Acceptance has taught me that there is a bit of good in the worst of us and a bit of bad in the best of us, that we are all children of God and we each have a right to be here. When I complain about me or about you, I am complaining about God's handiwork. I am saying that I know better than God. And then it goes on to talk about the actor and how, you know, we're the chief critic, and if all the actors in the play would just behave the way that we have written the play,
it's a safe way,
all would be well.
Sick.
Yeah.
But it's not.
Yeah.
That's what we tell ourselves out of fear.
Right. So next week we're going to talk about unhealthy dependencies, expectations we put on people, and how to kind of walk through that. Thanks, you guys.
Awesome. Love being back.
Right on. All right. Don't forget to join us next week, my friends. If you're on the Bill Post Radio Network, Bill Post is coming up next. Until next time, this is the Monty Man and the gang. We're wishing God's perfect serenity for you. Bye-bye now.
When it all came crashing down, there was only darkness all around. But in the distance I could see a flame. There's so much more to living in your world. Savior, what you did for me. You gave me something I want everyone, I mean everyone to see. When we stumble and it all goes wrong, only you can make it right. So I say, I'm learning to be the light. I'm learning to be the light. I'm learning to be the light. I'm learning to be the light.
This has been a broadcast of KHLT Recovery Broadcasting.
Be the light.
Kitty, 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 kitty.